do is, Jerry comes from a sort of theoretical science background. I am head of digital marketing at Crowdcube, and I also run our business performance team, which means I work quite closely with Jerry. So I want to try and turn this into something that you guys can use in your businesses on a daily basis. So just to talk a little bit about the data maturity model, I think it's really important that we just start with the bare basics. So data, information and knowledge, and I'll let you read that rather than me repeat it to you. But data, information and knowledge is exactly what we're talking about here in its entirety. And what we do when we work with big is we turn data, information and knowledge into informed decisions. And that's what we need to use in our businesses on a daily basis. Now, the thing that's changing that is computers. So the things that I used to do manually, I don't need to do anymore. And if you're doing them manually, you need to stop because computers can do them better than we can. So when Jerry talks about the way that the world is changing and the way that we're going to be involved with these algorithms, they're still going to be there because things need to be done, but certain things computers can do better than us. So we started this journey with Jerry, and we had this problem whereby we knew we needed to be data-driven, and it's quite a common pitfall that people get stuck in this more data, more knowledge scenario. And you get bombarded with information. Every platform on the planet, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, they all have analytics. Great. Really useful, maybe. And we also have this trap that we were falling into where we were just producing information and lots of knowledge, but it wasn't necessarily driving decisions. And we also had this other problem, was there was lots of people in the business who had lots of ideas, lots of concepts, things that they thought they'd like to know or be interested to know, but again, they didn't know how to use them in a practical sense. And then lastly, what was happening was the data we were producing was then turning into more questions. And with those questions, we'd go off down tangents and we weren't actually focusing on what was really important. So where we started, we were using Google Excel, VBA, connections to back-end databases, Excel Online, and those tools have their place and they're quite useful. The problem we had was that it was all in silo. It was all in individual places. Different teams were using different reports, and we weren't working in unity together at all. So Jerry and the came along, and we started this transition through the data maturity model. And I'm fairly safe to say, I was reading it again this afternoon, I think we're pushing into breakaway. Slowly but surely, we're kind of pushing that boundary on the right-hand side. We are kind of breaking away into this data maturity model. So we're pretty confident with where we got to. So just to pull it back to the bare basics, we run an equity crowdfunding platform, and the landscape from a front-end and a back-end perspective technically is changing all the time. So back when I started in digital marketing, everything was cookie-driven. We're now in a world where everything is event-driven. So if you log into Google Analytics today, everything is driven off events. Every single click, every single scroll that you're doing on a website is being tracked. And this is cross-device. And I've got some buzzwords on here, and I hate using buzzwords because they mean they're just terrible, and marketers are terrible at using them. But this stuff is cross-device, it's cross-platform, mobile, desktop, tablet. So just be aware of that. Whatever you're doing, be aware of that. I did a presentation yesterday to the company actually about mobile devices, and in Crowdcube we're seeing everything go to mobile, just literally shifting constantly all the time. So again, the reason we know that because we've got the data to support it. And then finally, the engineering that is involved in all of this tracking is growing and is becoming more and more important. So we're tracking absolutely everything in Crowdcube, because if we track everything, we've got the data there for when those questions do need to be asked and do need to be answered. And that's micro conversions, macro conversions. And if you don't know what they are, go and read up on them, because that's the way the world is going. And the most important thing that we've done is that if you trust Google and Facebook, then you've got a really big problem, because those guys are really good at taking money from people. Really, really good. And we need them though, because they're really good at marketing as well. So just be very, very aware of every penny you spend with those guys, because they are not your friends. And so the advantage we have of owning our own data in Crowdcube is that we can build our own view of the customer. We can build our own tools that we can then send our marketing messages out to our customers, and that makes us much more cost effective. So this is something that I kind of like to put in and present, because I think it's really, really important, and it's a bit of a marketing approach, but I kind of think it works everywhere. And the first question is, so what? So with analytics, a lot of people start with wanting to prove a concept, and the question you have to ask yourself as a business owner is, so what? So what does that thing tell me? And you can see here, what does this KPI measurement support? Why am I doing this? What does this measurement tell me? How can I use this measurement? What's the impact on my business in pound note terms? What action should I take? If I'm going to spend 3 hours digging into the data, what am I going to learn? Am I going to learn anything valuable, or have I just spent 3 hours learning about an analytics number that I can't do anything with? And I go off to my boss and I say, the number's 1, and he goes, great, what are we going to do with that? So always challenge yourself when you're looking at any single report and say, so what, and is it going to make me any money? So actionable metrics is what I really, really focus on. So we are a venture capital backed company, which means we have chosen not to make any money at the moment. Dangerous place to be. But it makes these numbers up here and these concepts even more important. And they always need to be applied in context. So stop wasting your time on numbers in Google Analytics. Like, there's so many numbers in there that don't mean anything. They're just Google's way of presenting what it wants you to see. So always challenge some of the numbers in Google Analytics and try and focus on what's important to you. So lifetime value, total revenue, profit, number of transactions, conversion rates. If you're going to do A/B testing, choose a number, try and change it. Cohorts, campaigns, lost revenue. I went to a really good chat the other day, actually, and it was about a gentleman who was talking about Google Analytics and the fact that everyone who uses Google Analytics puts revenue in the platform. With one simple change, if you turn that into your profit and you run that through the platform, it changes your view completely of your business. So really, really do think about how the numbers that you have in all of your platforms really help you drive that business along. So moving back into the data maturity model, one of the things we had in this business, or in Crowdcube, was we had everyone using spreadsheets. And so we had that hunger for data. But what happened was we got lost. And so we sort of started this mantra, which was, Crowdcube were going to work more closely with Jerry and his team, and Chris and Neil are here in the audience as well. And it really is a partnership. So they're called a consultancy. They're not a consultancy. They're literally like members of staff. They come to our team meetings. They get free flip-flops. They literally spend a lot of time with us. And it's really important because that's the way the world is going as well. Everything that we do with these guys is over Slack. It's presentations and documentation through the cloud. Everything is shared. The barriers are down. There's no point in hiding anything from these guys because they've got all our data. If they want to understand it, they're going to go and crunch it anyway. So we've really pushed the barriers down, and we collaborate through the process. And you can see here, what I've tried to do is just highlight what we do when we're trying to focus on changing a number. So in this instance, this is the way that we start building dashboards that present the data that the business can use. So maybe someone like myself will write a brief, or one of the senior managers in the company will write a brief of what they want and why they want it. Jerry and I will then sit down and we'll schedule it together in terms of all the other requests that we've had in the business. And we turn that into, more recently, what are called OKRs, so objectives and key results. So we say, if we're going to spend this time and money building something, what is the objective that we're trying to achieve, and what's the result that we think we would like to see at the end? Then the guys go away and they write some pretty crazy SQL queries that goes and gets that data and joins it all together and presents it in a way that's useful. Chris then turns that into something that the wider population can use and digest and get involved with, because democratizing data is so important. There's no point Jerry producing a SQL script that's 2 pages long and I put it on a slide up here, because no one's going to understand it unless you're into SQL, and I'm not into SQL. So you've got to translate it into the way the wider population want to think about things. And then the most important thing is presentation. So if any of you have worked with Jerry, you'll know that he loves Jonny and he also loves Apple products. And the reason behind that is because he builds things up. If you ever watch his presentations and he tells this story, he doesn't just go, this is an iPhone. They build you up, they get you excited. And we try and do that with our presentations. So when we've built it, we sit the top team down in the company and we tell them about how exciting this report is, and we tell them about how much money it's going to make them, and we tell them the information that they're going to get as a result of all of our hard work. And then finally we get people to use it. And then we collect that feedback, and as you can see, this takes time, and that's the reason I've got this massive expectations line through the middle of this process, because since I've been working with the guys, we have this problem whereby the idea has come way down here from our senior management team, and they think it's just data. But actually this is an entire piece of work, in the same way as it would be for an engineering team building a website. And there's different people involved in each stage, and the problem we always have is that senior management, they want the answer like down here. They want it right down here because they came up with that idea. So I have to manage those expectations, and slowly but surely we get further down this journey. But senior management, they still want time to vanish. So how does this affect each team in Crowdcube? Well, if you imagine that this is a funnel in effect, but I've turned it on its side, and measurement occurs across our entire business, absolutely everywhere. We are tracking absolutely everything. So in very simple terms, our business is broken down into 4 parts, which is originating deals, preparing those deals and getting them on our platform, getting them funded, and then getting them off the platform so that we make money. That's pretty much the same for every business out there. This is basic stuff. We are not unique. Okay, we're a disruptive industry, but this principle is exactly the same for any business. Get deals, get them in quick, get the money in your bank account, move on to the next thing. And alongside that is each of the teams. So we have product and engineering, which kind of encompasses all elements of that. We have the BD guys, we have the legal and financial teams, we have the campaign management teams, we have the marketing teams, we have completions, we have finance. We are measuring absolutely everything, all the way across this funnel, because it helps us to learn and it helps us to make decisions that drive us closer and closer to profitability. So I've taken the same model and I've tried to apply the principles that Jerry talked about earlier, which is we're measuring everything. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is make things go faster through our platform. So we're trying to drive efficiency. The faster that we can do that, the more money that we can make. And the whole time we're doing that, we're building and learning and building and learning. Now, the good thing is, the more data that we are collecting on this, the more forecasting we can do. I can say to Jerry, I want a predictive model that tells me how big my pipeline is going to be. He can tell me where there's holes in our data. He can tell me where there's going to be a gap and where we maybe need to put more resource and energy so that we don't lose deals or we don't have those speed bumps. We smooth out that seasonality. All of this is possible with data. And so it's really important that each team is being measured against data. If you're not being measured against data, what's everyone doing every day? You just go in. If I'm working on my own in my own world, people aren't going to have any confidence in me. If I can turn around and say, this is the data that supports all my work in numbers, qualitative and quantitative, you'll have a lot more respect for each other. And that's really important. So just to go back to some of the reports and how we do use these reports on a daily basis. So when we started out, we started with a KPI dashboard, so a key performance dashboard for the business. And the idea behind this was to show everybody in the business what was going on in the business. And the reason for that is because we got guys in the legal team and they're not that interested in data. They like words that are all joined together and don't make much sense. But they need to know this stuff. They need to know this stuff. They need to know that if we've only got 30 deals on our platform, that we're doing brilliantly. Or if we've only got 5 deals on our platform, that's not good. So you need to make these numbers available and digestible for absolutely everyone. So we produce this really, really cool report, and it gets sent to the entire company every day. There's no hiding behind the numbers anymore. People want to know this information. They want it to be shared. If everyone sees the numbers, everyone's in the same boat, and that's what makes the boat go faster. It's completely custom to Crowdcube. It's totally custom to our business, so it totally makes sense. It's better than any Google Analytics report you'll ever find. And it's really efficient now because we've done all the hard work. It just keeps going. It just keeps populating every day, gets sent out every day. We've done the hard work, and we just crack on. So an example here of this in action, when you link it to OKRs, is when we started, we used to have a monthly board meeting. And for that to happen, the data team had to spend 3 or 4 days every month, preparing data to make the top team look awesome. That's fine. We don't mind doing that. But by building this report, we gave them, and some other ones, we gave them all of the information they needed. And they just go off now. They do their board meeting presentation, and that's it. They don't need our help to answer those basic questions. They can answer it themselves. It saves them so much time, and it also means that the business performance team can focus on more exciting things like machine learning and understanding our customers more closely. In the marketing team, which is probably where a lot of people are most interested, how we use data. So we use it across everything. So whether it's acquisition, engagement, we use it for testing, we use it for email a lot. Email is really, really the best channel there is in digital marketing, hands down. Jerry and his team have built this amazing hyper-personalized recommendation engine. We've seen numbers go absolutely through the roof as a result of it, because we're giving those people the right message at the right time. We've done geolocation stuff. We've sent messages out to, we had a company called Wild Beer who raised on our platform recently, and we wanted to do a test. What happens if we send people in the local area a message about Wild Beer? Are they more likely to invest? Because the messaging says, this is a local company. You might be interested in it. You might have seen it in Waitrose. The numbers were incredible. It's really simple stuff, but you just need the data to power it. We, at Christmas, or just after Christmas, we had an agreement with Big, and we sat all of the techie guys in a room for 2 weeks together. I know, dangerous, really dangerous. And we did some cluster analysis on our investors. And the reports that we generated off the back of this are being used every single day now, because we've learned so much as a result of machine learning. And the machine learning is helping us to make decisions about, for us specifically, we want to know how to find someone who has £100,000 to invest in a business. And as you can imagine, the number of people that have that capacity is quite small. But as a result of the cluster analysis, we've found those people, and we have the data on those people. We just now need the marketing solutions to connect that together. And then moving on, so in the social world, audiences, you've probably heard this, are the kind of the new broad match in Google AdWords world. And we use it for audience creation and development. So we run lists, we upload that into those platforms, and we use that data to go out and market to those customers. Really, really, really powerful stuff. And then finally, we use it in paid search. We take all of our data and we pump it into these platforms. It gets hashed, which means that supposedly these guys haven't got 100% visibility of these email addresses, but they're connecting the data up somehow. And so we run that in, and it means that we save money on our marketing spend. So we put together remarketing lists, and that means that I don't pay. If I know someone's coming to my platform and I've seen them before and they're investing 10 times, I don't need to pay for them to be there. They'll click on my organic listing. So don't waste money on these people. And again, for each one of these projects, we've got an objective and a key result. And that really, really helps us focus the mind. This is our most recent development, which is a business development dashboard. So the problem we have is, as humans, we are habitually lazy. And we have BD people who are sales guys, and they're very different to marketing, very different to data people. And they knew they wanted something, and they had lots of ideas, and we sat in a room for 2 hours, and they went, but they didn't know what they wanted. So we went in and we sat down and we listened to them, and then we translated that into this report. And what's been incredible is the report has actually meant that it helps service more than just BD. It's helping us win deals. It's helping people answer their own questions. And all of a sudden we realized, this is really good for PR because it gives us the numbers. It's really good for design. It's really good for marketing because everyone's got it there at their fingertips. It's available to the whole company. And again, there was objectives and key results driven off the back of this report. And sort of alignment as a company is really, really important to us. And all of this data and all of these reports are really helping. So the product team, this is my last one of the reports, is so product and engineering. Again, different beasts to marketing and BD guys. And we're pretty agile as a company, and we like to release lots and lots of things all the time. And we try as best we can to use data to drive the decisions that we make. So why do we build this? So what? Why should we spend our money? What's the business case? What's the return? And so we use data, and we made this decision to build an app. And we built this app, and we've got so much data on this app. And this is an example of one of the reports that the guys at Big put together for us. And there's a whole report that's built around this, and it shows the shift in behavior. So what we've learned is that people who like doing things on a desktop like doing it at lunchtime. They make investments at lunchtime as a general rule. You look at the scale on in the evenings, we've got people sat on their phones at 10 o'clock at night making investments. We didn't have that before. We had the mobile web, but the app experience is way better than the mobile web. So we've seen a shift in behavior, and it's had a positive benefit on the company. And then we're releasing new tools on the platform all the time, and we're measuring that. So we're measuring clicks, we're measuring conversions, we're seeing the impact on. So it's really, really simple to turn something that's always changing into something that's really, really measurable. So moving on to data democratization. So as we've moved through the data maturity model, we've reached this point where we've got a single source of truth, which is the engineering that the guys at Big have put together for us. And now what we're trying to do is we're reaching out to people and saying, hey, what would be cool is if each of these departments had their own data, and they're in charge of their own data. And if you give each of these teams empowerment, then they drive their own strategy. Strategy shouldn't just come from the senior management team. Strategy should be empowered, given to the people in your company. Because then you can make smart decisions. You can get your eyes out of the boat and you can focus. And so that's what we're doing. We're giving all of these teams the information they need. We're going to train them up. We're going to educate them. We're going to give them new tools that they can use to access this data, with a view that that strategy together then gets grouped up by the senior management team and taken off and into the future. So what does the future look like? So we're quite lucky in that we work with Big. Some people might not be able to do that. So I just thought it would be pretty good to talk a little bit about some of the other tools that exist on the market. So at a basic level, you've got things like Supermetrics, which is a plugin for Google Suite, which allows you to pretty much pull data from all of the big sources that you can think of and drop it into a spreadsheet. And you can automate that stuff. And you can set up job runs to update that every day. And it's really, really basic. You've got tools like Zapier, which is basically an API connecting tool that allows you to connect lots of different APIs into single solutions. That's the way the world is going. And you've got Google Data Studio. So Google, because they're Google, want to be involved in this space. So they are developing tools really, really quickly to try and stay involved. And Google Data Studio is that very solution. It allows you to take things from spreadsheets. It allows you to take things from Google Analytics, from Google AdWords, plug it all together into a single source. You can even put some SQL in there. And then finally, you've got Funnel, which is a tool which, again, is really, really simple. It takes Google Analytics data and it connects it with your cost data. Really simple. Gives you that view of all of those things that live in lots of different platforms and aren't very useful. Put them together, they become useful. So key summary, don't get caught up in marketing and data buzzwords. Focus on profit and focus on your businesses. Data is about being objective. You've got to set objectives because then you get the best out of your data. This is a science, and that's why these guys have letters and numbers after their names. Be disciplined. Work together to move through the data maturity model. It's a good journey, it's exciting, and I would encourage anyone to do it. Collaborate, collect, and automate. Just do it. Do it. Build, measure, learn everything that you do in your business. And focus on what's important. And let the data guide you, because it will. And that's pretty much it. So I'll hand you over to Chris.